Do you know what it means to be a motherless daughter? Did you know you can have mother loss without mother death? Mother loss comes in many forms, and Motherless Daughters Ministry is here to help you navigate through your particular mother loss. While you are unique, you are definitely not alone. We have 25 years worth of pearls of wisdom to help you on your mother loss journey, and we are sharing all of these pearls with you through this very podcast, Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, sponsored lovingly by Motherless Daughters Ministry.
Hello, I'm Gladys Bell, your host. We're so glad to have you with us today. Here at Motherless Daughters Ministry, we seek to provide resources that will encourage and support healing from the impact of loss. Whether through resources, sharing stories, or community groups, we look to connect with you. Right from our website homepage, there are links to receive email updates, leave a voicemail message, schedule a free 15-minute consultation, or sign up for personal coaching. Your prayers, input, and financial support help make a difference in providing content for motherless daughters. If you are blessed by the ministry, please check our show notes to support it here on our podcast. If you are blessed by these episodes, we would love for you to leave a review or share our content. But we also have a way to become a monthly supporter. If you're listening through Buzzsprout, you should see an option right next to the podcast to become a listener supporter. You can also find the link in the show notes. Every now and then, we may look back to reflect on how we made it through a difficult period of our lives. What encouraged us to put one foot in front of the other for the next step? Where did we find the fortitude to survive? What or who provided the support we needed just in time? Today's episode, again, features our podcast administrator, Sarah Lynn Wells, as she discusses why the Nurturing Words podcast matters, what's behind her involvement, and why your support is so important.
Hello, my name is Sarah Lynn Wells, and I'm the podcast administrator with Motherless Daughters Ministry. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Perhaps this is your first time, or perhaps you're a longtime listener. I wanted to take the episode today to talk a little bit about why we have our podcast and why I and others on our team feel it's so important to volunteer our time for this podcast. I want to talk about ways that you can help support the podcast and help ensure that it's heard by motherless daughters who want to feel less alone. For over 20 years, our ministry has been a beacon of support and wisdom for those touched by mother loss. Our podcast, Voices of Experience, is a treasure trove of heartfelt stories, invaluable insights, and the wisdom of resilience, shared by women who have walked this path before you. For me personally, the podcast holds a special place in my heart. I was first introduced to Motherless Daughters Ministry in 2002 through the podcast. I had noticed my mother loss had resurfaced a lot after the birth of my youngest child. Going through that pregnancy and newborn experience without my mother there was very hard. I had lost my mother just a few short months after my oldest was born. So all of that just really brought back a lot of grief. A lot of the mother loss I thought I had worked on bubbled up to the surface. As many newborn moms do, I spent a lot of sleepless nights trying to listen to podcasts to keep myself awake as I fed and rocked my baby. One day, I was specifically looking for podcasts related to grief or mother loss, and I happened to find Voices of Experience Motherless Daughters Ministry podcast. I began listening to episode after episode, and it felt like I was seen, I was heard. So few moms that I knew that were going through this same phase that I was in had lost their mom. Most had a close relationship with their mom. A lot of other newborn moms I was talking to had their mother there helping. a lot of times I just felt very overwhelmed and alone. I wanted to be able to talk to my mom about the exhaustion and questions I was feeling, things I was going through, especially as we were adjusting to having 2 children at home. So I felt not understood. I felt very alone. But listening to the podcast and listening to those stories as I was awake in the middle of the night and missing my mom so much, it really helped me. As I started learning more about the ministry, I later became involved with the ministry, helping with the podcast team, later becoming a facilitator and joining the board. But the podcast has always held a special spot. And I am so grateful to be able to work with the other volunteers on our team who also have their own reasons why the podcast means so much to them. I love that we are able to share stories and offer encouragement to others. Whether you lost your mom through death or you lost the nurturing care of a mother through narcissism or emotional absence, there's someone in our ministry who gets it, who's been there, and who understands. I think so often as women, we are taught to care for others around us, whether it's our children, our spouse, others in our family, and we don't always feel like we have a safe place to tell the truth about our stories and to talk about the things that are hard for us. So often we as motherless daughters can be so focused on helping others that we don't always focus our energy on ourselves and our grief as well. It's so important, and part of the reason a podcast and the ministry even exists is because women need a safe place to tell the truth about their stories. Sometimes there can be an expectation that we should only talk about the good things, especially when it comes to our mothers. We're told things like, but she's your mom, you only get one mother, or she did the best she could. And maybe those statements are true in some situations, but they don't erase the reality of what happened to those who lost the nurturing care of a mother. They don't erase loneliness. They don't erase rejection. They don't erase the grief. And they don't erase the questions that can stay with a daughter for years. Why wasn't I enough? Why couldn't she love me the way I needed to be loved? Was something wrong with me? Or for the daughter whose mother has died, what would I give to just have one more conversation? What would she think of me now? Who am I supposed to be without her? We're often made to feel at times like others have forgotten a mother who has passed away, or as if we should have moved on or shouldn't be struggling even years later, as if time heals all wounds and things move on. And while that can be true to an extent, there is a change that has happened in you and the grief that is going to affect you along the journey. There's no moment when you've just moved on and that's not a problem anymore. It's always going to be part of your journey. And there are times when the grief resurfaces just like it did for me. Sometimes it can be something big, like the birth of a child, or it can be even something small, a time when the grief hits you in a new and unexpected way. We need spaces where we can feel seen. We can feel heard and understood and be part of a sisterhood of people who get it. There's so much value in our support groups, our courses, our different groups where people can get together and talk about these things. But we also understand that sometimes that might not be what you can do in this moment. Maybe with timing or various resources, you are unable to take one of the courses or be in a support group in a season. That's why our resources like our blogs and our podcasts can be so invaluable and helpful. Even if you can't talk to someone else about it or you're not in a place where you want to do that, you can learn from others and you can feel less alone as you read their stories or hear their stories on our podcast. That's why our bi-monthly podcast that we put out, we want it to be full of a variety of stories. We try to mix our episodes between those with motherless daughters who have lost their mother through death and ones who have lost the nurturing care through narcissism or abandonment. There is something for everyone on the podcast, every motherless daughter. Whether you are struggling with holidays, the big moments, small things, grief, guilt, being able to trust others, being able to move forward, the struggles of navigating being a mother yourself, struggles with family dynamics that change, whether with your father, grandparents, siblings, sometimes even with your spouse, how that can change things. We have stories and episodes that touch on all of these different topics.
We're going to take a short break to tell you about a resource, and then we'll get right back to the podcast.
The easiest and quickest way for you to get in touch with us and find out all that the ministry has to offer is through our refreshed website. Oh, who are we kidding? We did a complete overhaul. We're a bit partial, but it's awesome. On our website, you can read our blog with posts written by fellow motherless daughters. You can check out our schedule of motherless daughter support groups and classes, all of which are available both virtually and in person. You can even find out how you can contribute your talents as a volunteer to help other motherless daughters. Visit our website at motherlessdaughtersministry.com. Poke around, leave us a live message with your questions or feedback. The web address again is motherlessdaughtersministry.com. We can't wait for you to visit.
Another reason this ministry matters is because grief doesn't always look the way we expect it to look. For instance, for those who have lost the nurturing care of a mother through emotional absence or narcissism, sometimes people do not understand if they have not been there. When someone loses their mother through death, people usually understand there will be grief. There may be a funeral, there may be sympathy, there may be casseroles and cards and phone calls. But there are other kinds of mother loss that don't receive the same understanding. What happens when your mother is alive, but you can't have a healthy relationship with her? What happens when you have to establish boundaries because contact with her is harmful? What happens when you realize that continuing to chase her love is keeping you wounded? That grief is real too, and it can be incredibly complicated. You may grieve the mother you had. You may grieve the mother you wish you had. And you may grieve the relationship you keep hoping would eventually change. And sometimes all of that can be mixed together. The grief, the anger, the guilt, the disappointment, the sadness. That doesn't make you a bad daughter. It makes you human. This podcast also matters for those who have lost a mother through death. Even if others can understand losing someone they love, sometimes they may not understand the dynamic of losing a mother. Sometimes there can be an expectation that after a while, you're just supposed to have sort of moved on in a way. Even if it's not expressed that way, there's sort of this idea that at this point in time, you are going to be sort of over it or have moved on or not be so focused on it. This podcast matters because isolation makes pain heavier. When you're walking through something that other people don't understand, it's easy to start believing you're the only one. That is how I felt so many sleepless nights when I was searching for someone else who understood what I was going through. I was looking around and seeing women who had close relationships with their mom and whose mom was living and very active as a grandmother to their children. I spent a lot of time thinking, why don't I have that? This isn't fair. I didn't know how to even relate or talk to others because they had such different experience in me. And hearing those words on that podcast gave me a relief that was unexpected. It didn't change my circumstance. Nothing about it changed what was going on in my life. But just realizing that others got it made a huge impact. Of course, eventually being part of the ministry, getting to interact in this sisterhood, taking courses, later helping facilitate courses, has blessed me and helped me immensely. But even before I was ready to take that step, the podcast was there and such a beacon of hope in a dark time for me. For many women, the Nurturing Words Voices of Experience is more than a podcast. It's a lifeline. Every episode delivers faith-filled encouragement, practical wisdom from women who've been there, and conversations with women navigating the pain. Whether their loss came through death, emotional absence, addiction, suicide, adoption, trauma, narcissistic relationships, whatever it may be, they discover they are not alone. Of course, like with anything, there is a lot of work that goes into creating our podcast, a lot of work that goes into the ministry. We want to be able to reach women who are motherless daughters. So there's several ways that you can help us make sure this podcast is reaching those who need to hear it and to help ensure that we can continue with our podcast. One way is by becoming a monthly supporter. You may see a link right along the side where you're listening to this podcast right now to be able to become a monthly supporter. If not, you'll find a link for it in the show notes. Your monthly support helps us produce inspiring podcast episodes, reach women around the world with hope, share biblical encouragement and healing, create free resources for those who cannot afford them, and expand the mission of Motherless Daughters Ministry. While we have a wide reach by being able to offer courses and groups virtually, the podcast helps us expand even more. Even a small monthly gift can help another woman hear the message she desperately needs to hear today. We want to ensure that no motherless daughter has to walk her healing journey alone. We appreciate the support and appreciate the consideration of becoming a monthly donor. There are other ways that you can help the podcast as well. Like I said, many are looking for that hope, and they're searching and trying to find the podcast just like I did. Having people leave a rating for our podcast helps it to appear in searches and helps more listeners find our podcast. We would love if you gave us a quick rating, review in whatever platform you listen to our podcast. Also, sharing our podcast. You can easily share it on social media or send text or email a link to a friend who you know may be going through this journey as well. We would love for you to help share the word about our podcast. Thank you again for listening to our podcast. You're the reason why we want to work on this podcast and make it even better, sharing even more stories. We're always looking for people who are interested in sharing their story and being able to connect with others. If this is something you would be interested in, you can see a link in the show notes to be able to contact us and let us know that you would like to be part of our podcast, either volunteering or sharing your story. Thank you again for listening to us, and thank you again for considering ways to be able to support us.
Thank you for joining us here at Motherless Daughters Ministry. If you need more nurturing words, we encourage you to have a listen to other episodes of this podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button so you can join us again next time.